What's going on, y'all? I want to show you Dragon Fire from Denise Audio. This is what Denise Audio is calling a tonal compressor, and it's one of the most unique compressors that I've ever used. You can saturate with it, you can use it as a clipper, you can EQ with it. It uses the push-pull technology from the God Mode plugin, if you're familiar with that plugin from Denise Audio. But this compressor covers a lot of ground, and it's worked well on everything I've used it for. Here, I'm going to show it to you on vocals. So on this vocal, right now I've got the Dragon Fire bypass, and I have nothing on this vocal. But I'm going to quickly go over the controls, and then I'll show you how it sounds. So you'll notice the graph here in the middle, and these are your points that you can use to push-pull, which I'll explain in just a second. But starting from the left, you have your threshold that you can pull down. You have your output on the right. Random, you can select this to just choose random settings for the compressor. You've got your side chain. Drive is going to introduce saturation into the compression. Curve, this adjusts the release curve, which is a really interesting feature, and it just adjusts it from fast to slow, and I will show you that. RMS is going to blend it between RMS and peak detection for the compression circuit, and knee is going to take it from a hard knee to a soft knee, and you can blend anywhere in between. Normal controls for your compressor: threshold, ratio, wet and dry mix, attack, release, high pass filter, low pass filter. This is the pull. So with the push pull, if I boost this here, so the outer curve you see is going to be the push. It's what's going to be pushing that frequency into the compression. This lower curve you see here is going to be the pull. That's how much of that frequency is actually being applied to the output. Clip, you can set this to where, if we set this to here, -6.4, once it hits that, it's going to start to clip. And then you've got your output gain here. Okay, so let's reset this and let's play this vocal, and then I'll show you what the Dragon Fire can do for it.
Running in circles, going out my mind. You won't even answer, and you waste my time. You got me fantasizing. Are you worthy loving?
Okay, so what I'm hearing with this vocal, the thing is, "You got me." This line right here is pretty loud. It needs to be controlled with some compression.
You got me fantasizing.
Yeah, "you got me," and then "lovin'" on the end of this phrase starts to tail off some and gets buried.
Are you worthy loving?
So we're going to use compression to smooth out this vocal and bring that up. So let's start with, actually 10 millisecond attack time is fine. I'm going to take this release time up to about 300 milliseconds here. We'll leave the 4:1 ratio. One thing I've noticed with this compressor that I have to pull down the threshold further than I generally would, but I think that's due to how the curve and the RMS works on here. So we'll first look at the curves. I'm going to pull the threshold down, so we're doing some compression here.
Are you worthy loving? Running in circles, going out my mind. You won't even answer, and you waste my time. You got me fantasizing.
Okay, I'm going to push it just a little harder so we can get some more gain reduction. So just watch the gain reduction meter, because I'm going to show you how the curve works here. So right now we're at 23, 25%, and watch how it's releasing.
Are you worthy loving?
And then if I pull it over closer to 100%,
Are you worthy loving? Running in circles, going out my mind. You won't.
and then back down.
Are you worthy loving?
So down here at 0, we've got a slower release, and on 100, we've got a faster release curve. So you can really use this to dial in the curve that you want. Let me get that set here.
Are you worthy
Actually, I'm going to bring up the release some just to make this a little more dramatic.
All your wordy loving, running in circles, going out my mind. You won't even answer, and you waste my time. You got me fantasizing.
All right, that's good. We're going to bring up the threshold some here. So the RMS, this is going to blend between RMS and peak. So this is with it at 25%, and we're still paying attention to the release here.
All your wordy loving, running in circles, going out my mind.
And I'm going to bring it up.
All your wordy loving, running in circles, going out my mind. You won't eat.
So closer there, we're getting a little less gain reduction there. I'm going to put it maybe back around 40 here. And really the point of this curve and RMS together, you can really make this sound like any style compressor, whether that's Opto, FET, VCA, Varimu. Any type of compressor you can dial in with these different curve and RMS settings. And lastly, we got the knee here, which is going to take it from a hard knee to a soft knee.
All your wordy loving, running in circles, going out my mind. You won't even answer, and you waste my time. You got me fantasizing.
Okay, and I'm just going to pull the release back just a little bit. Now, the drive is going to introduce saturation, so this is, so you can really hear this, we'll solo the vocal here. This is with the drive at 26%.
All your wordy loving, running in circles, going out my mind.
And with the drive at 100%.
Running in circles, going out my mind. You won't even answer, and you waste my time.
So the more compression you do, the more saturation you're going to do with the drive. We're going to keep this kind of clean for this vocal here. And lastly, let's take a look at the push-pull here. So I'm thinking EQ-wise, I want to add a little body to it with the low mid, so I'm going to bring that up. Let's do about 200 hertz here. Now, what that's also doing here is pushing 200 hertz into the compressor. Now, with the pull, if I have this at 100%, where I'm boosting this 5 dB at 200 hertz, that's not going to the output of the compressor at all. But if I put the pull to 0%, now it is boosting 5 dB at 200 hertz on the output. So then, of course, the 50% would be, 2.5 dB of 200 hertz on the output. So let's go with about 40% and take a listen to that there and see if we can dial in some low mid warmth and weight to add to the vocal.
Running in circles, going out my mind. You won't even answer, and you waste my time. You got me fantasizing. All your words.
I want to also add this solo in the upper right. You can solo these as well. So if I hit solo,
Running in circles, going out my mind. You won't even answer, and you waste my time.
so you are able to solo that. So let's listen to that in the mix.
Running in circles, going out my mind. You won't even answer.
Okay, I want to add a little bit of high end to it now. I'm just going to do about 3 dB at 8K as a shelf here. And for this, okay, so let's listen to that.
Running in circles, going out.
Okay, that's good. Now, lastly, we're just going to turn up some makeup gain here to make up for the compression that we're losing. And I'm going to pull this threshold back a little bit. All right, let's see what we got.
Running,
Yeah, it's too loud. Back off the makeup gain.
running in circles, going out my mind. You won't even answer, and you waste my time. You got me fantasizing, all your wordy loving.
Okay, so you can hear that "You Got Me" and the loving part. The part that was too loud is now controlled, and the part that was too low is now turned up. Now I'm going to play it, and I'm going to bypass Dragon Fire, bring it in and out so you can hear what it's doing.
Running in circles, going out my mind. You won't even answer, and you waste my time. You got me fantasizing, all your wordy loving. Running in circles, going out my mind. You won't even answer, and you waste my time. You got me fantasizing, all your wordy loving.
And one thing I'm going to point out, you can see there on that loud peak on "You Got Me," we're doing 17 dB of gain reduction, and it's really not sounding squashed at all. I think partly of that I've got a little bit longer release going, but also the curve and the RMS settings is really helping to keep this smooth and not sound squashed at all. Of course, if I really wanted to squash it, I certainly can, because like I said, this compressor covers a lot of ground. So that's the Dragon Fire from Denise Audio. I've got a link in the description if you want to learn more about it or check it out. Any questions, comments, let me know, and I'll catch y'all next time. I want to invite you to check out my podcast, the Faders Up Podcast, where we discuss pro audio and beyond. We discuss everything from recording to gear to the music business. So if you're an audio engineer, songwriter, recording artist, music producer, this podcast is for you. We recently started season 2, and we're going to have a lot of listener questions on this season, as well as some really cool guests that's lined up and giveaways as well. So if you've already subscribed and followed the podcast, thank you. If you haven't, it's available on all platforms, and I encourage you to check it out. Also, rate it and review it and let us know what you think.